Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at the Loft, here at the City Winery, here in Chelsea Piers, here in New York City. As you know, here on the Pace Report, I profile and interview musicians who continue and have made an important mark in the world of R&B, jazz, as well as gospel and the blues. And tonight, blessing the band stage in a very intimate and very rare performance is the legendary Frank McComb on vocals and keyboards in tribute to the late Donnie Hathaway. Now, in a career spanning some 4 decades, Frank McComb has recorded, toured, and performed with the likes of Tina Marie, Frankie Beverly, Branford, Marsalis, just to name the many in his few. Tonight here, I had a chance to sit down to break bread with him to talk about that iconic live album that Donnie Hathaway recorded live at the Bitter End over 50 years ago, as well as talk about the live album he recorded at the Bitter End by himself in a solo performance, as well as we sit down and we break bread and talk about the late Prince, as well as reflect on the great Chick Corea, who was one of his important heroes. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of the great Frank McComb paying tribute to the great Donnie Hathaway live here at the Loft, here at City Winery, here at Chelsea Piers, here on the Pace Report, here in New York City.
Why'd you take so long to come to me? Oh, baby, and love, your love. Tell me where you hiding from me all the time. Each time I tried to find someone to take your place, it was all in vain. No, the lips were never quite the same. Baby, when I was kissing someone new, deep inside I was missing you. No, baby, you make me fall in love with you, and I don't know just what I'm gonna do. No, honey, I looked out into empty space, and all I saw was your pretty face. You can't imagine what you do to me, oh baby, and love, yeah. Every time you smile, it goes through me, all the time. Day by day, I'm falling more in love with you, and that's no lie. Cross my heart and honey, I hope to die. Cause I'm not trying to mislead you. Believe me, girl, I believe you love, yeah. You make me fall in love with you, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, yeah. Oh, honey, I looked down into empty space, and all I saw was your pretty face. You make me fall in love with you, and I don't know just what I'm gonna do, yeah. I won't go on, yeah. I looked down into empty space, and all I saw was your pretty face. Love, love, love.
know, less is always more. And I've always believed that an artist that can play without a band, you're the complete instrument. And you've always been that. Tell my viewers how important it has been for you for these last 25 years for you to do it independently, but also be the vocalist, but also be the pianist.
I didn't expect it to go this way. I didn't expect it to go this way because when I signed my first deal, I thought that was it. I thought, you know, we're going up from here. Nah, but you know, another company came and bought the company out. You know, Polygram bought Motown out for millions of dollars, and the little guys like me who hadn't had a record out were kind of lost in the shuffle. So I leave there and I go to Columbia after touring with Branford, Marsalis, and Buckshot LeFonque. I get to Columbia and it's almost the same thing, but at least they got the record out. You know, my first record was Love Stories, came out in 2000. But like I say all the time, how do you give birth to a child and tell it to raise itself? It's gonna die. So you put a record out and say, okay, we're gonna throw it out. If it stick, it stick. If it don't, oh well. You know, and it was an oh well.
But you know what? I want to add.
But the people caught on.
Yeah,
that's
people
what
caught
matters.
on.
The people caught on.
People
so,
caught on.
Yeah, the people caught on.
You know, my first foray with Frank McComb is the Buckshot LeFonque record, but it also was your first record, which was produced by Branford. Now,
those both of us actually.
Right.
Yeah, we both produced that first album, Love Stories.
Right, right, and the record industry was changing at the time, and the record industry is still changing.
It never stops.
It never stops. Yeah. How have you been able to keep your foot in the door and keep people to come to your shows? Because a lot of people around the world know about you word of mouth.
Well, just staying true to yourself. Eventually, people gonna catch on. You know, to tie in with the last, to tie this answer with the last answer. You got to stay true to yourself, and you got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe that what you're doing is good. And if you know you got something good, you don't let others tell you that it's not just because they may not understand it. That's not my problem. You know? So the thing for me was to not look to the left, not look to the right, and see what everybody else is doing. That's when you become distracted. Try driving a car and keep looking to the left and to the right. See if you don't run into something.
You're gonna crash.
There you go. And I didn't crash and burn because I didn't care what the next person was doing. Thing is the world wants to classify me as this neo-soul whatever, and that ain't me.
Never has been. Never.
Then they want to just call me jazz, and that ain't me. I'm music. So I call myself a soul jazz recording artist because I sing and I play equally. I used to watch George Duke, well, listen to George Duke and George Benson and their records growing up, and they had instrumentals and vocals on their records. Why can't I do that? It's music. It's music. There's slots and boxes, they can keep them. I don't care about them slots and boxes. I've been classified as this and compared to other artists that's in those genres, and we're not in the same.
Right.
And I'm not slighting nobody, you know, I don't care how you make your money as long as you ain't knocking no ladies upside the head to get it. I don't care what you're doing. So, as well, this business is I call it a game actually because they know rules. There's nothing out there to protect us recording artists to stop people from ripping us off. So it's a game. You got to know how to play it. You know, sometimes you got to make your own rules. And what's really sad about it is that it's a competition, and that's where we all fall. I was just talking to one of my best friends about this. It's a competition, and as long as it's a competition, everybody looking to the left and to the right to see what the next man doing. And your money ain't paying my bills. I don't care what you're doing. Right, and I say this in love. If it was paying my bills, then I probably wouldn't care. But I don't. I don't. You know, I don't have all the Grammys. I don't have all of the American Music Awards and whatever else they have out there. I have a gift that I thank God for every day. And if He wants me to have it, then cool, I'll have it. But if not, it's not going to break me. And artists get caught up in that stuff. You know, and I'm not one of those guys that get caught in those things, because at the end of the day, a Grammy doesn't listen to music.
That's right.
A Grammy doesn't buy records. A Grammy can't come back and give you a testimony of what your music did for them. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, man. I'm not caught up in all that. I'm not. I want what God got for me and nothing less, and nothing more. It's crazy to say it, but and nothing more. Because sometimes you can get more than what you can handle.
That's right.
And I don't want that, man. I just want to have a great career, man.
And you have. You have. And I'm going to add that because your record label. Everybody look at
Boobeescoot Music. Yeah,
look at the record. Look at the record label.
Thank you.
Prince, who happened to be a great figure in your life.
Yeah.
He saw something that you were doing at one of his shows, but he actually was the blueprint for what he was doing in the 90s with the Emancipation Record. Tell my viewers what Prince saw you do, and he gave you the green light to do what you're doing now, because it's the blue. You're laughing, but it's the blueprint of your success.
What's funny is he saw me and my wife hand packaging CDs, manufacturing CDs in his office. We were rehearsing at a place called Center Staging in Burbank, California. And he had us, we were all rehearsing in one of the big rooms. You know, they have these different size rooms, but we were in this big room and he had a nice size office in this room. Well, my wife and I, we had an HP printer. I had a 3-disc tower and a computer. I don't know what we did with the computer, but we set it all up and we would print. Oh, the printer had to hook up to the computer. Yeah. So I'm out there in the main room rehearsing with the band. And my wife Nisa is in the office putting them together.
Manufacturing.
So we take a break. I go in there and I'm right alongside with her. Put them together. She fussing. You didn't do that right. Turn it around. Okay, all right. Yeah. Nisa and I are hand packaging these CDs. And I'm selling them literally around the world. My own distributor. Selling them around the world. People will order directly through PayPal to me. You know, this is before Bandcamp. This is before Cash App. And you know, they don't have Cash App in Europe. So, but that's an American thing. So it was PayPal. So they would send me money. And I would have to charge more for the internationals because it's still an imprint. I got to pay for that shipping. Right. Shipping got extremely high. I just said forget it. And the cost of CDRs is cost. And the reason it's high, but the reason I'm coming back to Prince in a second. The reason I had to do it this way is because I saw somebody else bootleg my record the same way. Right. They bootlegged the record I thought was going to be my first album, Love Stories. The 1995 bootleg. Right. That's what it's called. So we over there in Prince's office printing up these CDs, and he comes in, and you know he wasn't tall enough to stand over us. He wasn't big enough to go around us, so he looking through because he was little. I can talk about him now because he gone. No, that was my dude though. But he looks at us and says, "What are you guys doing?" And I said, "We running the family business. I got to sell these records." And he said, let me see that. There was 2 records at the time. One was straight from the vault. It was the first record I did independently, solely on my own, 2003. And that was my 3rd album. But the first one I did solely on my own for Boobeescoot. And the other one was the 1995 bootleg. So he looks at the bootleg cover and he says, what does this mean? And you know, it was a white piece of paper with a skinny leg inside of a construction boot. And the construction boot represented the fact that the man was working hard for the money that the skinny leg represented, the money he wasn't getting. He was starving from his work. So when I told Prince that, he like screamed. You know, he was little, but he had a big mouth. He screamed to the top of his lungs. And we had a party that night. He said, bring these up to the house. Next thing I know, he was showing them to people, and I had interviews with Tavis Smiley and a few other people, and I know he was behind it. But Prince did a lot of stuff behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. And he never once wanted the credit for it. Oh, he did a lot.
But I'm going to say,
he gave a lot.
And here's another thing too. In the beginning, when you started to play with Prince, you took a pay cut. Humble. You were humble. And from my understanding, Prince took you on as one. He took you on as a person of, okay, this guy is very serious about his craft and as a musician, but he had more respect for you in the end. How did that help you out as far as your relationship with Prince, but also the music world as they saw you as this budding musician coming up?
Well, I don't recall ever taking a pay cut from him because he paid extremely well.
Okay.
He did. He paid well.
Okay.
Well, he handled business. He's the one that taught me to never call a contract a contract. He said call it an agreement. He said always know what you're agreeing to. Always know what you're agreeing to. He said if they got you, then it was a contract. They conned you. So, but with Prince, we never had paperwork. It was a handshake after making a joke. You know, he said, I tell you what, you play, I pay. That's the deal. I tell you what, you pay, I play. That's the deal. That's the deal. We shook hands and laughed and went off to rehearsal. And yeah, and that's how that happened. But the thing with Prince is he never saw me as just a musician because he didn't meet me as just a musician. I remember the night we met, I was playing a place called the Level 1 in Beverly Hills. It's not there anymore, it's called something else now. I think it's a sports bar or something. But I was playing a gig in Beverly Hills with a trio. It was me, Raymond McKinley on bass, who was working with Sheila E. at the time, and Cora Coleman, that's her name. She was playing drums with me because at that time I was mentoring Cora and taking her to Japan with me a couple times, you know, out of the country a few times. So as we're having sound check, Raymond comes to me and says, "Hey man, Little Purple guy might come out and hang with us." I was like, Little and Purple in the same sense can only be one person.
Right,
So,
right.
It was Prince. And I was like, okay, yeah, right, okay, no problem, yeah, I'll be ready. And I'm like, okay, yeah, right, okay, come on, Raymond. He said, no. I said, all right, we'll see. So I nudged the promoter anyway, and I told him, I said, look, Prince might come through here tonight. Just see that dark room over there, keep it dark, take him over there. So nobody mess with him, you know. And man, he was stoked. Torrey Crow, I'll never forget. Torrey was so stoked. Just the thought that Prince would possibly come to a gig he was promoting for me. Just the thought of it, right? So during the break, Raymond comes to me and says, "Hey man, he's here, he wants to meet you." I was like, "Really?" "Yeah, so he's in the dark room you sent him to." I was like, "Cool." So I go into the dark room and it was him and Rochelle Farrell. Wow. That was the night I met Rochelle. Wow. I met her through him. So Raymond was working with Rochelle at the time as well. So Prince and I are talking, and he's like, "Man, I'm loving what you're doing, man. You should come up and let's cut some stuff at the house. Let's do this, let's do that, you know." And I was like, "Cool. What about my drummer? Can you bring her? Let me get the unit and let me bring my band in, you know." And we called Cora in. She sat down and we got to talking, and that's how she got in. So Raymond couldn't do the gig. He was tied up between Sheila and Rochelle. So we brought in, at the time, yeah, it was Josh Dunham. We brought him in. And we brought in, I brought in Tim Stewart on guitar. Tim Stewart plays for Lady Gaga. Yeah, this is before Lady Gaga hit the scene. So we were ripping. And then Tim just got so tied up he couldn't play no more, so I brought in another young cold guitarist named Jairus Mosey. Jairus was still in high school. Jairus, I think, was a senior. Prince would pick him up. He would not pick him up. He would send a limo to pick him up from school every day and bring him up to the rehearsal. So he was the kind of guy that if he wanted something, he made it happen. He was a little guy, but he had a big mind, and I love that about him. Because he trusted me musically, he never saw me as just a musician. He always saw me as a leader because I always handled everything I did as an artist. I handled it, you know. A lot of musicians, I won't name names, but just in general, a lot of musicians would complain because the workload was plentiful. It was a lot of work, you know. Sometimes 3 gigs in one night, the way he would work, you know. But he paid for it. He paid for what he wanted, you know. I was never once one of those musicians that complained, because I told him, you met your match. You talking to a guy who was playing in the bars of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm in the bars of Cleveland, Ohio, playing 3 sets a night, we would start at like 9 o'clock, didn't get out till 3 or 4, you know, in Cleveland, playing all night. So And then I had to be in my homeroom seat at 7:30 in the morning. That's the deal I made with my principal at Glenville High School, Cleveland, Ohio. Mr. Pfeiffer. I remember telling Mr. Pfeiffer that I wanted to leave school early on some days because there was a mechanic that used to live next door to us when I was a kid. Taught me what I know about cars. I used to want to race cars as a kid. I wanted to be an auto mechanic at first. I love cars. So I would go and make a little money with him during the day. And in the evenings, I would go play my gigs. And I asked my principal if I could leave early in the day sometimes so that I can go make this money and help my mom raise my sisters. No problem, but. And I said, what? He said, I don't care how late you get in after your gig in the night. This is a Jewish guy. You got to help me make my money. I was like, what do you mean? He said, you cannot be late. You cannot be tardy for homeroom. I need you in that seat because everybody that I get in those seats is money that I get for the school. I said, all right, cool. I help you make your money. Help me make mine. So I've been a leader since I actually started playing piano. I had the Frank McComb trio back when I was 17. So Prince didn't just see me as a musician. He saw those skills, those leadership skills from way back then. And he could not tire me out because that's all we did was play, you know? And then to turn around and get paid for something you love doing, man, come on, man. You ain't getting no complaints out of me.
Frank, we lost 3 very important icons during the COVID. We lost Dr. Barry Harris, we lost McCoy Tyner, and we lost a hero to you, Chick Corea.
Yeah, we lost Ellis Marsalis.
Yes. Yeah.
We lost Onaje
Yes.
Jones.
Yes. Alonji. George Duke. Yes.
No, he was pre-pandemic.
But tell me about Chick, because you did a tribute record. You did a tribute record to Herbie and Chick.
George,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a tribute to the masters for Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Ramsey Lewis, George Duke, Russell Ferrante, Joe Sample, and Patrice Rushen.
Ooh, Patrice.
So I did this particular record. I figured if I was to write with this person or record a song, or write a song for this person to record, this would probably be it. So versus doing a remake of their tunes, I wrote tunes that I heard in my head that I would like to have put on them. So that was the purpose of doing a tribute to the masters. I was a little nervous at first, but I stepped out of my box. I was a little nervous because I knew I wasn't going to sing on this record. My voice is nowhere on this album. So I wasn't sure if people were going to catch on it or not. But people caught on. There was never service to radio, because when you're independent, and I mean literally independent, and you're trying to raise a family, the money's not always there. In fact, it's seldom there. So you got to be creative all the time until you can find that support. So when I would do shows, the money I made from the concerts went to taking care of the family, but the money that I made from selling CDs went back into making more CDs. Ain't no money for radio. None of that. You know, none of that. It was all on me. Everything was on me. So some had to fall by the wayside. so I would make friends with folks in independent radio. Mainstream, I just couldn't get on because it would just cost. You know, you got to buy packages and whatever it is that it takes to do it, and it costs. It does. So I depended on everybody that I knew that was in independent radio or internet radio. I even started a radio show of my own just to get the exposure that I needed, the living room, and people caught on. Man, I was syndicated. I was making my radio show and sending it into the stations. I had at least 15 stations, and that was big for me, just me by myself. And I learned sometimes you got to become the very thing you need. You have to become the very thing you need. That's right. I needed radio, I became radio. The living room with Frank McComb. And there are a couple people out there, like my friend Paulette Jackson of Scorp Radio. She still airs my broadcast, but she calls it the best of the living room, because that way I don't have to go in and edit nothing. Everybody knows that show from that time back then, So I did this record because I also wanted to hear the kind of stuff. Let me put it this way. I wrote and recorded and released the kind of stuff I wanted to hear on the radio. I missed that vintage Duke sound. So when I did the tribute to George, I used vintage sounds that that were from the 70s that I knew growing up. A lot of people don't realize Patrice Rushen was a pianist before she ever opened up her mouth to sing Forget Me Nots and all the big hits.
And she was a child prodigy also.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to become friends, or just to even get to know some of these people, and it's not always who you know, but who knows you.
Right.
So for them to know who I was, that spoke volumes to me, So now it's funny you mention that, because I'm literally working on a tribute to the Masters remastered edition. I'm remastering that album. It came out December 1st, 2006. I'm remastering that album, and right now it just charted. One of the songs from that record, Moving in Traffic, is on the radio right now. It's charting right now.
That's the one you played in Soundcheck, right?
No. That's the Urban AC single I got.
Man, that's a beautiful song, man.
Thank you. We were made for us. And that one, man, it was on. It's been out for 2 weeks. Well, out to radio for 2 weeks. The first week was 69 spins. The second week was 1,029, I think.
So the record is coming out soon. The record is coming out.
No. I'm just doing this for urban. See, here's the thing. I'm blessed and gifted to be able to successfully put music out in different formats or different genres. So smooth jazz, not even singing on the record. Moving in Traffic is on the smooth jazz charts now. But then We Were Made for Us is an urban AC tune where I'm singing, not taking any keyboard solos, just straight voice. That's the one that's climbing the charts real fast, and it's getting the radio spins real fast. That's the one. From 69 spins one week to 1,029 the next week. I'm eager to see what next week is going to be.
Right.
So,
and tonight this is the first time you shooting a music video tonight.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we're just getting clips for the video. So,
and you know what's crazy? I've always said everything old is new again. I mean, it's like people want to hear soul music again, and you're still in the trajectory of the great legends. And it's like now, the reason why that record is taking off is because people are like, man, I ain't heard this kind of music in a very long time.
Yeah, and it's time for it, because I think it's time for it, because I never stopped doing this style of music. I never stopped. I never stopped playing a Fender Rhodes piano. When they quit playing Fender Rhodes in the 80s, I was still lugging it around in the trunk of my car. I still have a Fender Rhodes 88 suitcase signed by Herbie Hancock, George Duke, and Greg Fillinganes in the same night. I ain't never letting that piano go.
Of course not.
No. And one of those guys is gone. You know, George was one of my mentors, man. I sat with George. He would take my call in the middle of the night and walk me through a contract at that time and help me get out of it. Yeah, George Duke was that kind of guy, man. And then he'd say, okay, don't call me before 1 o'clock tomorrow. That was Duke, you know. Right. So, yeah, I just believe in putting out the music that I miss hearing. Just that simple. From the same album, check this out. It's called A Song for All. Places in my life and time, sung a lot of songs, I made some bad rhymes, fagging out my life in stages, 10,000 people watching. Well, now and I'm singing this song to you. I know your image of me is what I hope to be. Treating you unkindly, but darling, can't you see? There's no one more important to me. Baby, can't you see through me? We're alone now and I'm singing this song to you. Taught me precious secrets of our true love, withholding nothing. Came out in front and I was hiding, yeah. Well, now I'm so much better, and if my words don't come together, listen to the melody, 'cause my love's in there.
Frank, I have 5 albums in soul history, live albums, that are not only iconic, but are very important to document black roots music.
Okay.
And I'm going to name them to you. And this is in no particular order. Number 1 is Les McCann, Eddie Harris, Swiss Movement, Aretha Franklin, live at the Blue Moor West.
I got that. Fillmore. That's Fillmore West in San Francisco, right?
Yes, and also the other album is King Curtis live at Fillmore West, because he was the music director.
That one I don't have. I wish I had that.
Woo!
Yeah, I know that's hot.
Right.
Yeah. He's the one that got Donnie Hathaway signed to Atlantic.
Right.
Yeah, he introduced him to the label.
Right. And the other two are James Brown Volume 2 live at the Apollo, and then there's Donnie Hathaway. And tonight you're doing, and you have been doing, a tribute to Donnie. And you actually recorded a live album at the Bottom Line.
The Bitter End.
Tell me the importance of, one, that live album, and two, why you have 50 years later continued the legacy of remembering Donnie for that live record.
Well, my memory for music goes back to about the age of 2. I remember when they brought records in the house and played them. I remember when they would put the album cover on the table. They'd take the record out, put it on the record player. It was a record player back then. I turned to a record player. And they would put the cover on the table, throw all their weed on it, separate the seeds. And they get in. My aunts and my older cousins, man, they would get it in. And I sat back and watched all of it, but it was just so much joy, you know. And they would clown me all the time. They say, y'all want to see something funny? As soon as they get their buzz on, put the record player on and watch Red. That was my nickname, Red. Everybody know me for Red, right? They put that thing on, and I was a little kid just learning to crawl, just starting to walk. And I would make my way to the speaker and put my ear on it, thinking people were inside the box. If I wasn't doing that, I made my way to the turntable. I was doing like this, watching the record turn. They thought I was crazy, man. But I remember when the music would come in, Headhunters by Herbie Hancock, you know, Shirley Caesar, the Caravans, James Cleveland. There was so much soul being played in the house.
Right.
Blue Eyed Soul too, man. I love Billy Joel. I love Elton John, man. I had a thing for singers who played piano. Or so like Billy Preston, Ray Charles. I came up
He's on your record.
Yeah, Billy's
on that record.
Billy's played on 2 of my albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played on 2. That was my dude, man. Now, let me tell you something. I grew up playing organ in my grandmama's church. They put me off the organ as a kid, said I played too jazzy. I told them, y'all just, I'm reminding y'all of the juke joint is what it is. But when Billy played on my album, The Truth, Volume 1, right? The house was converted into a recording studio, right? The B3 is in the living room near the front door. Now, the board is like real nearby. So I'm testing the B3 while they're getting the sound, and I hear the doorbell ring. And I said, I'll get it. And I go to the door and I open the door. I'm like, oh my God. Oh Jesus. And Billy's standing there smiling. Just smiling. And I was like, you heard that, huh? Oh God. He said, man, I didn't know you played organ. I did not know you played organ. So I got kicked out of my grandmama's church only to be endorsed by Billy Preston as a B3 player years later. Don't let nobody tell you what you can't do, man.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the Loft at the City Winery here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank the staff and management here at the Loft at City Winery for their warm hospitality. Also, I'd like to personally thank the incomparable Frank McComb for his time. Make sure you support his projects as well as his upcoming tour. For more information, visit him online at frankmccomb.info. Also visit him on social media by way of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. As always, people, I can't stress this enough. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos here on YouTube and Vimeo, and leave comments. Also, please visit my website, thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.
You know where my paycheck went. You know I brought it home to you, baby. And I never spent a red cent. Is that any way for a man to carry on? Do you think I want my loved one gone? Said I love you more than you